Let me get to the right page.
Oh, come on. It's redirecting. Oh.
Meeting is now streaming live on Facebook.
Yep.
Oh, here we go. So we are live. You guys can let me know whether you can see us at all.
I can see us.
Oh,
see us.
fantastic.
Look
Yeah.
good.
This is fun. Oh. Right.
Yeah.
So we're there.
Yeah.
I can't see it. Am I being really...
Do I see it?
Yep, it says we're live now, so it will take some time.
Ah, yes.
Yeah, there is a lag. There is
Yeah.
just a little bit of a lag.
So
Yeah.
welcome to the agenda. If you are watching live, we will be starting in exactly a minute or so, so we'll allow some of you to join us. Lovely.
Get your drink.
Well done. Well done, Ashanti.
We got
You did
there.
it.
It's the
Text
scariest
the most
moment.
worrying thing, isn't it?
Yes. Right, Kate, set us off. Set us off.
No pressure. Okay, hello everybody. Thanks so much for joining us. This is super exciting. The first introduction of the agenda. So welcome. My name is Kate Plowright. I run a business called Selling Savvy, where I work with the event industry as a whole, so venues, suppliers, hotels and venue finders to increase their conversion and bring in more revenue to the business. And that's me. Sabrina, you're up.
My name is Sabrina Meyers. Hello, everybody. And I am a mice vlogger. I have my own channel and brand and platform called Hot Hospitality Exchange. And I do social media consulting for the events industry. Over to you, Lils.
Hi, I'm Lils. I am the director of Albany Appointments. We specialise in events recruitment, mostly within the conference sector. And yeah, thank you.
Hi everyone, I'm Ellie Parker. I'm an events marketing manager and I currently work for a technology company running their full event schedule there. I've been in the industry for 7+ years, so I'm really excited for today.
Hi everybody. My name's Helen Moon. I'm CEO of Eventwell. And we're a social enterprise who campaign and educate for better mental health and wellbeing in the events industry. And it's a pleasure to be here.
Oh, it's me. I was listening to everybody like I don't know you guys already. Right, hi everyone, I'm Ashanti. I focus mainly on leadership and visibility for event professionals. So welcome to the first inaugural launch episode of the agenda. We got there in the end. I'm really happy that the tech is working. So welcome to our live stream. And as you can tell, and Sabrina coined this beautifully on our Instagram, it's 6. Oh, come on, Sabrina, go for it, because I can't remember it, but it's brilliant.
6 different individuals, 6 different disciplines, 6 different perspectives, all coming together to discuss the current affairs in the industry.
Yeah, so we have an agenda for this evening, and thank you for everyone who has submitted questions so far. We will definitely get to them this evening. But one of the first things I thought we should talk about is something that I think has been outstanding from the events industry, considering the knock that it's had or received because of COVID-19, is the positive, collaborative community activity and atmosphere that we've seen being demonstrated online. I think it actually would be good to start with Helen, because this is really important when it comes to like wellness of everybody right now. Have you seen some great examples of community and collaboration happening in the industry at the moment?
Oh, yeah, well, apart from the stuff that Eventwell does, no, it's been pretty amazing to see everyone kind of rallying together and coming together. There's been some Zest Global Events, for example, with their motivation and isolation program that they've been doing. and the event first ladies with the stuff they've been doing, some of the associations as well as education and the events and stuff that they've been pushing out. So it's been really heartwarming and great to see. But that's one of the things that the industry is fantastic at, and we're fantastic at supporting each other and coming together when needed. And it's in my 23 years of working in this industry, that's always been the case. So it's one of the things I love. So it's been really heartwarming to see. And actually it's quite nice, bearing in mind it's Mental Health Awareness Week next week, and the theme is kindness and community, and actually it couldn't be a better time with anything else. But no, it's been great.
Yeah. And Kate, I've seen you doing a lot of collaborative activities online and working with some great people with your summits and your courses.
Yeah, I mean, I've always been a big believer in collaboration anyway within business, but on the other hand, I've always been a very local business. I'm 18 months into the business and I've always been based around Surrey and Hampshire, and wanted to get further out, but was kind of scratching my head a bit as to how I do that effectively. And to be honest, without belittling Corona, because obviously it's been a horrendous time for people, but it's potentially been the making of my business personally, because there's suddenly locations don't matter. And I've met you guys, which I probably wouldn't have met, if it wasn't for this. And I've been collaborating with people on a national basis from all over the country, and now have contacts that I can call up and that will support me, and that I'm actively working with everywhere in the country. So it's really amazing, and there's so many positive stories, like you say, that can be taken away from it.
Yeah, absolutely. And Lils, kind of, have you, I mean, because I know that there's a lot of negative, the reality is COVID has had a massive impact on just everybody in terms of their daily life, family life, income, but there have been some positives to this whole experience for everyone.
Absolutely. I mean, it's been an incredibly tough time. I cannot deny that, for recruitment within the event sector. I mean, it's been unheard of. I mean, even with worse recessions, I've never experienced, anything quite like this. But I think maybe I'm quite a positive person anyway, and I'm really trying to take as many positives out of this as possible. And I think what I'm really noticing is the amount of networking. I mean, usually I'm so kind of boxed into my day-to-day life. I'm in my office and I don't have enough time to kind of look outwards. And that's always been a challenge for me as a business owner, where I always think as a business owner, you need to spend, X amount of time looking in your business, but you really need to dedicate a healthy amount of time looking outwards. And I've always struggled to find that balance. So it's been amazing now, and I've really networked with some fantastic people, and I think it's been brilliant. There's been a lot of support network groups as well on LinkedIn for people who are job hunting or out of work or being made redundant. And I think it's really brought a lot of people together, which is really remarkable, because if you were out of work without this happening, quite often it's a very you can feel quite on your own. And I think having that community has been absolutely phenomenal. It's been really wonderful, and I think you've got to really take that. And it's been a brilliant opportunity to kind of do lots of networking. So you've got to, and people have got time as well to do courses. Like what Kate's doing at the moment is incredible. And I just think for people being able to kind of really upskill and join lots of different training courses is fantastic. It's a real blessing.
I think that's a really valid point as well, Lils, because people have many people, not everybody, because lots of people have other commitments, but many people have time to do it. And I think doing this networking and doing these courses that I'm running, it wouldn't have been effective a year ago when people are in work. I could have run these summits and I wouldn't have got the numbers. Whereas now it's so different. And like you saying, going to networking, you will have met a lot more different people than you perhaps would have done networking a year ago.
Yeah, absolutely. And Sabrina, because I think that you are very good at this using social media. So I've seen you do a lot of Instagram interviews and also very active on Twitter. And then you've got your brilliant events together at home, event professionals together at home series on YouTube. So talk a little bit about how you've been able to leverage social media and technology in a way that I don't think traditionally the events industry does, in terms of the type of content that you create to collaborate with other people.
Well, I think obviously I would say in the industry, I would be quite an early adopter in terms of social media and kind of trying to use these different platforms, predominantly Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, and Facebook, and now recently TikTok.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait. And initially I started it because I wanted it to be a community. So it was very much community minded and being able to reach out and connect with other event profs and share kind of what every event prof does with each other and around. So that was the whole idea of it. And I think in this period, I was seeing a lot of the written word, and I'm a very visual person. And I just really wanted to see other event profs because, hey, we're all at home. And I kind of had the idea, wouldn't it be cool to just call random event profs that are sitting all around the world and just find out how they're doing? 10 questions, 10 minutes. It was a very simple idea, and it has brought me and actually every event prof that I call so much joy, because they're sharing their story, they're sharing their daily, they're talking about what they're practicing, what they're doing. And I never thought that it's kind of made the world for me such a small place now, because it's almost like I was speaking to a Canadian event prof 2 days ago, and she's going to be on the series.
Yes.
And someone from Boston, and someone from San Francisco, and someone from Denmark, and someone from Sweden, and it's really someone from Singapore, Italy, wherever. It's really made the world so small. And I think what it's done also is, I think it's just important that everyone realizes that they are unique and they can create a unique presence on social media, online. They just have to figure it out,
Yeah, sure.
And it's bringing people together to understand the power of it.
Yeah, I mean, that's a really great point. And on that note, Ellie, what kind of positive things have you seen happening throughout this period? Because I know your industry, obviously, as being an in-house events manager, you would have seen massive changes. What positive things, I guess, have you seen happening in this period despite those challenges?
Yeah, I mean, touching on what some of the other ladies have already said, but definitely that sense of collaboration, and even like supporting like those local businesses that we maybe wouldn't have partnered with before. Yeah, so I think we have a lot more appreciation for those collaborations now than we probably ever have previously. Definitely. Also, just so many people like on social media sharing their tips and their experiences has definitely helped everyone feel like they're in a similar position. And then you can take some of their advice and implement it into the company where applicable. So yeah, I've definitely, and a lot more content that is readily available online, which is helpful to all of us, just so we can keep up to date with all the industry news and the trends that are happening. Just everything is, I feel like everything is so much more readily available to us now, more than ever before, and it's great, and we're all coming together because we are all in the same position. So I definitely think there's some of the positives I've definitely seen.
So there's a couple.
Oh, sorry.
No, go on, Lils.
I was going to say, isn't it quite interesting how when you think about, we're all confined to our four walls, and actually this has removed borders, like Sabrina was saying, working with so many people internationally, and for Kate kind of being, before it might have been kind of a constraint, your location, and having that, it's no longer a battle. And it's quite interesting that, while we're all kind of in our four walls, we're everything's been broader and more open than ever before.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely. Do you know, there's something as well, Helen, that I think is, totally your bag and really useful for you to talk about, because I think one of the things, obviously, there's the double-edged side of social media. So everyone's still showing maybe their best moments, even throughout this COVID period, and the successes. And I'm conscious of the people who maybe for them it really isn't a positive experience, and maybe emotionally, mentally they're not there yet. Can you talk, because there's some great stuff that you do at Event Well that I think people can discreetly maybe tap into if they're not necessarily feeling all of this positivity.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, I've seen both. So I've seen obviously still the filtered posts that go out, the filtered life and the filtered day of how brilliant it is. But actually, I've started to see a hell of a lot more people starting to open up a little bit and being a little bit real about what they're going through. So there's certainly been a few comments, personal comments I've seen from professionals and event professionals that I'm connected with, who are actually being very open on LinkedIn, very open on Twitter about what they're experiencing, what they're going through. So I've actually seen a kind of another side that this is promoted on social media, of people actually now starting to be a little bit more open about their mental health and where they are right now, which is really great to see.
Yeah.
Now stigma will always kind of stop everybody from feeling open enough to be able to talk about their mental health and if they're having a bad day online, and that will probably be the case for quite a while to come. But I have seen both, so not so much of the filtered stuff, a little bit more realness
is coming through.
Because social media for me, is because I'm a marketing manager as well, so social media for me is an amazing tool. Don't get me wrong, it's an absolute fabulous communication tool, and it can allow people to reach areas of the world and audiences and communities that they wouldn't be able to reach without it. So don't get me wrong, but there are some sides to social media that which I think the technology companies who are managing these social media feeds and accounts, they really need to start taking some responsibility for it. When you're looking at trolls and bullying and online, it's a world for young people that I can't even begin to imagine what it was like. I mean, me in my 20s, I'm in my late 40s, so me in my 20s, I did all kinds of stupid stuff, and none of it's on social media. And when I finished school, everybody gets a little bit of teasing and stuff at school and stuff, don't they? But for young people at school that are experiencing the negative side of kind of bullying and stuff, and they can't escape it. That for me, that is when I refer to the evil of social media. That's the stuff that I refer to. And I think the technology companies, in regards to the social media companies, they have a responsibility to do something about that. And I think with everything that's happening at the moment across the world to everybody, now's as good a time as any to be putting those changes in place. This year is supposed to be the year for People and Planet. It was supposed to be the super year for People and Planet. That's what they were saying at New Year when the 2020 was coming in. There's no way to kick off a super year for People and Planet by having a viral pandemic, I have to say. But this decade is actually supposed to be the decade where we start looking at the pressure that we put our planet under. Environmental issues, sustainability, but also sustainability of people, and that's how we take care of not just each other, because as event professionals we're very good at doing that. We're very good at looking after people. That's what we do. We're not so great at looking after ourselves. We tend to come bottom of the queue.
So much burnout, isn't there?
And that's this. I think this pandemic that we're in has highlighted the importance of our health and our mental health, and how it's not just reserved for people with mental health conditions or people who are stressed or depressed. We all have mental health, and I think it's going to prompt an awful lot of change, big change.
So we're going to talk a little bit about those changes, isn't it? Because we've had so many discussions about what might unfold. So we're going to definitely come back on that, Helen, because I do think it's such an important thing to keep what you do high on the agenda in people's minds, to encourage them to keep, opening up and getting assistance wherever they are in that journey along the way. So here's the thing, because we've just been talking about kind of protecting and preserving mental health, emotional well-being. So it kind of segues into talking about how we can protect the talent that we have in the industry right now. Right, so lots of people either may have lost a job, businesses have shut down completely, or they're on furlough, and there may still be some uncertainty about what's going to happen, if at all, if they go back to their job. So there's a lot of conversation now about how we protect talent in the events industry. Do you guys have any thoughts on
Yeah. Well, for me, I suppose looking after and protecting the talent in the industry is looking after their health and well-being.
Yeah.
And let's start doing it now. And let's not reserve this for there. Let's not stop. Let's stop managing mental health and well-being in a reactive nature. Let's get proactive. I worry about the mental health shock, I refer to it, and the aftershock of what's happening to the industry right now. There are going to be people in our industry that are suffering from PTSD symptoms because of the trauma of losing their jobs, their businesses, livelihoods, furlough, even people they love. So there's a lot of people suffering now, and we all need to come together to protect that talent. But because for a long time, for me, when it comes down to mental health and well-being, for a long time we've allowed talent to leave our industry because we've not taken care of them and we've not taught them how to look after themselves, because there's very unique things we have to do in our industry to look after ourselves, because there's very unique biological and physiological things that go on. So for me that's how we take care of our talent. We look after them. Yeah. Yeah.
Sabrina?
For me, it's all about the way that you look after your talent is to make sure that you're still going to continue to develop them in this time.
Right.
So, if you've been furloughed, then obviously you can't be working, but you can certainly be trying to, in a way, still keep in touch with them and give them the support they need on the sidelines to continue developing themselves. If you know that they're good at particular skills or they want to learn something, you can continue to meet them informally, have a virtual coffee, still reach out to them, because just because you're not working doesn't mean you can't connect with your colleagues or your ex-colleagues to see how you can still support them at this time, where they can potentially upskill themselves in certain areas where when the turnaround does come, that they will have that skill set to get employed quickly. So, so it's just about, I think, reaching out, keeping tabs, keeping that connection still with existing colleagues, existing employees, or even the ones that have been furloughed or let go. But it shouldn't be a closed door. It should kind of be a temporary thing. I hope that's the positive side of it. But if that's not available, then it shouldn't be it shouldn't burn the bridge. It should be something that we should still be able to continue forward with in some shape or form.
Yeah,
I think
absolutely. Yeah.
Ellie and Lils will have some great points. Sorry, Helen, to cut you. Go forward.
That's all right. No, I was just going to say anything to do with personal development should be a life career choice that people make. It shouldn't just be a short term to fill a void and a bit of a hole because you haven't got anything better to do. A choice to professionally develop. It's a career choice. They call it continued professional development for a reason, and you don't stop just because you've got your degree or your A-levels or you've come away with your postgrad diploma in event management doesn't mean that you stop learning. And the industry is continuously changing, has changed miraculously in the 2 decades that although this is my 3rd decade, just in the 2-3 decades that I've been working in it, it's a hell of a lot different now than it was in 97 when I first started, and I've continued to do diplomas and courses right the way through my career, and will still be doing diplomas and courses and learning probably in my 60s, the week before I did retire. Retire in our 60s, I don't know. So it's a life career choice, professional development. It shouldn't be just a thing to fill a bit of a gap.
No, absolutely. And as I say, like Lils and Ellie will have like unique perspectives on this, both working in recruitment and then also being in-house. Kind of what do you guys see in terms of talent being protected, how people can keep themselves, I guess, viable, make sure that they've got value to add in this period of time for when they go back to work?
I mean, this is a topic that forever fascinates me, to be honest. I think you wouldn't want to work in recruitment if you're not, you know, kind of naturally intrigued by people, you know, happiness and what it is that kind of motivates them to want to do their job and want to do it well. You know, happiness is a really interesting thing for me, because when I ask my candidates, when they are looking for a new opportunity, I ask them what they're looking for and what's most important to them. And above salary, above job title or types of events they're planning, it always comes down to company culture and happiness at work. And I just think, just because we're confined to our houses and people are on furlough or they're not working in the same office, people need to nurture that and stay in regular contact with their employees and really make them feel listened to and looked after, because, you know, you've just got to work that extra bit harder to maintain a culture. Even if that's online, it doesn't matter. You can have staff quiz night every Thursday, have some drinks. You know, there's so many things you could be doing. And I'm hearing a really mixed bag, to be honest. I mean, I've had some candidates have been telling me how their companies have been brilliant, you know, checking in on them and insisting that their meetings are done face to face on Zoom, as opposed to kind of a quick call or where people hide their camera because they're wearing their pajamas. I want to see your face. I want to interact with you, because actually it's really important to maintain that interaction all day. And I think you don't know what people's situations are like outside of work, and they could be living alone, and that could be the only face-to-face interaction they've had all day long. And it's so important to make sure that people feel they're seen as well as heard and they're looked after. And some companies, I've been quite shocked, to be honest, their managers have done like twice a week, they're sending them an email to check in, and you're like, God, you know. It's and I think it's so important, whether or not you're employed, furloughed or out of work at the moment. It's so important to kind of really tune into that, because I think we've all got responsibility with one another, whether or not that's your, you know, you do it with your friends and family, so why not with your colleagues or, you know, your employees as well, and just make sure that everyone we've all got to look out for each other more than ever before.
Definitely. I mean, I can add to that. As an inside employee myself, like Lils and Helen have both said, company culture is definitely key, like definitely something that as an employee you want to be a part of, and that if you have a good supportive company culture, you naturally feel more at ease. So coming back into a post-COVID world, making sure the company's standards of culture is more exceptionally high than usual will definitely help with that transition of easing back into the workplace after this pandemic. There's also agile working. So like as an employee, during this time, I'm trying to upskill myself to make sure I'm fully prepared for what's yet to come, which is still, I guess, uncertain to all of us to some extent, but how we can prepare for that. I've been doing everything I can to upskill myself on how we can pivot from that physical event space to the digital event space, and what attendees are looking for post-COVID-19, what are their expectations, not just ours, also what's the expectations of our audience. So that's key as well. And I think really just sort of senior management within companies having clear communication strategies to just make sure that staff are feeling valued, offer them the support and training and mental like well-being courses and everything that they need just to help get them through this time.
Now's the perfect time for, because culture is a massive thing for Eventwell, and it's one of the things that we constantly try to educate and campaign about, and have done since the very beginning. So we've kind of said that there needs to be more empathy on an industry level. The culture needs to be addressed. So we need to be looking at positive cultures on a business level, and then self-care from an individual level. But what we're faced with at the moment, because of the challenges and everything that we've got the perfect opportunity as an industry that when we do get back to business, in whatever shape that might be, it's a perfect opportunity for us to be turning over a new leaf and starting again from scratch, and introducing policies and things into our companies and our way of working and way of life now that are different to how we were doing before, and that can have that really positive effect on the culture. And culture really is very simple. You just have to make people feel safe. Okay, valued and safe. That's what people are looking for at work. They want to enjoy going into work. They want their job to be the thing that gets them out of bed in the morning. So if you can get that mix right as a business owner and an employer, sorry, for your employees, safety, happiness, they want to go to work. People want to go to work. So the secret is you being that employer that makes them get out of bed in the morning. And that's the secret to positive culture.
Yeah, and I think, do you know what, guys? I think we're definitely going to have to chat about that more. Sorry, go on, Kate.
No, it's all right. I was just going to say, from a training perspective, I obviously work with lots of different event organisations and hotels, and I see different cultures in amongst them as well. I run open courses, which lots of different businesses attend, and it's so interesting. I can tell the way they engage within those courses as to what their company culture's like. Some of them will be told that they have to write loads of notes and present it back, so they're really engaged and enthusiastic because they're empowered by the information. And some of them are sent and then they go back and nobody listens to them, and they're the ones that don't get as much out of it, because they're not empowered to learn it and absorb it and then deliver it back as from their own viewpoint.
Yeah, no, that's a really good one, Kate, because I think that's why I think, guys, we're going to have to deep dive into culture. I think it's such a good point that you brought up, Ellie, because culture in the workplace is going to be a real priority as we move into the post-COVID world, as it were, because I think this situation has revealed that some organizations didn't have maybe robust, kind of healthy, empathetic cultures before now. We're going to get ready to clap for carers, guys, shortly.
I've seen a comment come in on Facebook that really relates to this, because I think sometimes, you know, happiness and flexibility from working from home is achievable depending on the type of role you have. But Claudia Yasmin has just mentioned it's odd going from working from front of house and events and a few times a week, shaking hands, hugs, being with lots of people all the time, and just going from that to being just in a bedroom where you're on a laptop. And however, when events go back to normal, I think I would like to continue to work from home on non-event days and having that alone time, speaking to peers in the industry. And I know some other people will feel the same too. I think that's absolutely spot on. And I think encouraging that work-life balance is so important.
Yeah, love it. And I think we can hear them clapping.
Clap. I can hear clapping. I can hear clapping. Clapping.
Is there a clap emoji on Facebook that people can press?
Exactly.
Hashtag clap for carers.
You should be banging a pan.
Yes, I can hear that also, actually, I must say.
Excellent. I just wanted to pick up as well on what Lil said, was just saying there about that balance and that flexible working. Now this is the thing, and I was chatting to my husband about this today, so this is quite interesting. So obviously from a well-being perspective, working from home is great, but it doesn't work for everybody.
No.
So having a flat out policy of working from home for everybody is not going to work for everybody. Now I'm the sort of person, I've worked from home for a long time because I started freelancing, went self-employed in 2015. So I'm used to working from home, but I still need that face-to-face camaraderie interaction with colleagues and stuff. Because one of the things that I'm starting to notice, and a few people that I've been chatting to, is that while it's been now 10 weeks for us of working in our house and it only being me, my husband and my little girl, I am starting to notice my cognitive function is actually starting to drop. And one of the things that they too talk about from a well-being and mental health perspective is that people who work in isolation, who haven't got that day-to-day interaction, are likely to see cognitive decline over the years, and there is a risk of dementia, Alzheimer's, stuff like that. There's other risks that come with Alzheimer's as well, but you're at risk of dementia, cognitive decline. So you have to be careful. So my husband's had a few of his colleagues were saying that they like to work from home full time kind of stuff, and I was saying I actually would advise people against work from home full time. or if you are somebody who works from home full time, then make sure that every day you've got at least 30 minutes of face-to-face interaction with somebody else. Because we're, as humans, we're not meant to work in isolation as human beings. It's not our innate nature to want to work in isolation. One of the first senses we're born with is touch. And it's the only one really that we don't have to develop. We're born with it. Our other senses grow stronger as we grow and develop as human beings. So it's that touch and hugging, shaking hands, clapping for carers, all of that kind of touch element of us as human beings is really important sense. And when we don't tune into that, it can have detrimental effects on our well-being and our mental health. So from a flexible working perspective, you have to find what works for you.
Yes.
Nobody should be forced into a corner in terms of this is our company policy and everyone's got to follow the same kind of rules. So I like the idea of non-event days, or maybe that the day after you finished organising an event, when you have that flat period that follows that high of the whole creative orientation around an event and the inspiration kind of areas of it, and the event day with all that adrenaline and cortisol and stuff flying around. And then when it finishes, you kind of fold out. Maybe work from home those days, because that's when you can probably do a bit of peace and quiet.
Yeah,
a little bit.
Just to add to that, my company today introduced a policy that it said will sort of be our new normal in the future, about sort of part working from home, part going into the office, and that will be our new normal for an extended period of time. So obviously you do get the opportunity to do both, which is great. But it's just seeing how that will work and what that will look like. Will there be a rota of who's going to be in the office on certain days of the week, and then do we switch around? That's still yet to be set out. But all of these factors obviously need to be taken into consideration.
If the meetings are agreed in advance and you know that that's a meeting, you know, on Wednesday where everyone needs to be present, then you can work around that. And I think if you have core working hours, because you know, the thing that, I mean, I don't have children, but I have constant, you know, I'm constantly disbelieved and so much sympathy for full-time work women in the industry with children. It's not the most sympathetic industry for mothers. I don't know how you do it.
I used to work in venues, and to no offense to any of my ex venues that I've worked at that might be listening tonight, by the way, but when we were planning to reproduce a human being, when me and my husband were planning that, that's when I decided to go freelance and work for myself, because I've watched too many of my colleagues struggle with children and working in hotels and venues. Couldn't do it.
What surprises me is how many, it's a very female dominant industry, I find. You know, most of the candidates I meet are female, and yet why is this industry not accommodating enough to women, you know, or to parents, you know, to mothers? So I'm really hoping that that's something that will come out of this, and this flexible working, ability to work from home, you know, just having a stronger kind of work-life balance and be able to, you know, have a family and just have a life outside of work as well. And
I just want to touch on, I don't think we're an industry that's against mothers, by the way. We're not an industry that's against mothers. It's just the innate nature of how the industry works isn't flexible enough sometimes when you have a family. That's what it is. So it's not, nobody's out not to make it really hard for mums. It's just the way the industry is.
Some companies aren't flexible enough, and I'm really hoping that will change. That's all I meant. It's just
I think as a whole, the events and kind of hospitality industry is quite old-fashioned in that sense. And I think forcing people to work from home, which we've had to do recently, hopefully has proved that it is possible. But being from a hotel background, it's I mean, event coordinators and event managers, it's just unheard of that they would work from home. I mean, a lot of the systems that I've worked on in terms of diary management and revenue management, they don't even, you can't even access them at home. You know, they're a system on the computer, and if you're in the office or you're not working. So I think it's a massive shift that needs to be looked at and addressed. It's the exact same reason, like Helen, that I started my own business after maternity leave. There aren't any senior part-time positions within the industry, or certainly the hotel industry that I was kind of I was looking at, so my hand was slightly forced, which I was obviously, I'm pleased that it was now, but it's very daunting having a 6-month-old baby and be like, right, I'm starting a business. You know, all of my antenatal friends are like, what the hell are you doing? Like, I was like, yeah, fine.
I got that a lot. I got that a lot.
21st century.
Definitely a good topic to Ashanti.
Yeah, let's no, definitely. And you know what, as well, it's funny actually, because this is what the amazing thing about, I think, this show will be able to talk about those issues, because I do think that one of the things I've learned from kind of doing coaching and consulting for so long is that there's a lot of people who probably running their own business is not the right thing for them. But what's happened is the workplace just hasn't accommodated their lifestyle. So I see this push for everybody, especially women, start your own business, etc. And I absolutely appreciate why that is. And I think for some people, having maybe a small business, a lifestyle business that came from a hobby or an interest is the right thing. But on the other hand, I think there's a lot of people who aren't necessarily right for running a business full time in the way you might need to be able to actually feed your whole family on this business. There's a difference there.
A lot of
I think that there are sorry, Helen.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say, just in a shout out, because obviously our industry is 80% women, and I've been in it a while, and I have to say that some of our big agencies now were agencies that were started by women who had kids and wanted something more flexible. So then I've met a lot of amazing women in our industry over the years when I was doing proactive sales and going out and traveling up and down the country and visiting people in their homes, home offices, or at their swanky offices, because they've grown to size. There's some amazing companies in this industry that have been started by women wanting something a little bit more flexible. So, you know, we've got that beauty in our industry that it's so fluid that you can just start your own business if you want to. But you are right, Ashanti, having your own business is not for everybody. And I think people don't realise that a lot of having your own business is looking at the accounts, looking at the cash flow, doing all that kind of stuff, and that's not for everybody. And I think that takes few people by surprise.
Absolutely. And there's a quick comment just before we move through. Someone's left a comment about those with disabilities also benefiting from more working from home options, and I think that is really important. And that's not a conversation I see happening very often in the events industry space. If you do have disabilities, whether they're visible or invisible, how does your workplace work with that? And that goes back, I guess, to the discussion about culture and inclusion again.
Absolutely.
Well, there is the Equality Act of 2010, which basically, and this is law, guys, so it actually says that anybody with a disability, visible or hidden, that includes mental health, reasonable adjustments do need to be made in the workplace, and that should include being able to work from home if necessary. So, you know, that flexibility for people with disabilities is not a nice to have or an add-on, it's law. So
I wonder
put that out there.
I wonder how often that is practiced in the event industry. Just playing devil's advocate here.
That could be a whole
other conversation.
Although funnily, sorry,
go on.
Very, very quickly, and then we can move on. Before this pandemic struck, if you like, I was able to work from home 1 day a week as part of my general working week. So I've actually been lucky enough to have that advantage quite early on when I joined the company. So that is a great opportunity to have and take up if you need. But just thought it's important to stress that. I know, like Kate was saying, it's unheard of event managers never being able to work from home. But in previous jobs of mine, never been able to work from home. But since I made the transition sort of at the start of the year, it was part of the culture that we was able to work from home 1 day a week if we wished. And I took that opportunity on board. And I think that definitely helped me settling into this lockdown working from home period as well, because it was so unknown to me previously, having just sort of a few months at this new company where I could work from home 1 day a week and it wasn't frowned upon. yeah, it's helped to transition into this lockdown period. I mean, obviously being refined to your home is not not as ideal as being able to work from home 1 day a week and then the rest being out and about. But yeah, it did help, just naturally help me fall into place a bit more with that routine of working from home.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And we had a brilliant question come in before we went live, which was really about how a company like a chauffeur company can actually adapt and what safety measures the industry maybe expects them to put into place as we move forward. And Ellie, I know that you've got quite a bit of good stuff to share on that.
Yeah, no, for definite. So from like a chauffeur's point of view, or just generally for event planners moving forward, I think we'll probably go back to that social distancing that we sort of encountered just before lockdown, and obviously that we're practicing now. So I think my last event that I ran was on the 12th of March, sort of before the lockdown period, and even then that was at the Excel Centre, and they was putting the social distancing measures in place. So we wasn't able to shake hands with people. So I think sort of moving forward, the handshaking is probably still going to be out of the window for a little while.
Still doing that.
Exactly, elbow touching, or yeah, that was the new one, wasn't it, Helen? Making sure there's hand sanitizing stations at every point, sort of that is necessary to have them. Face masks and other PPE equipment, gloves will probably have to be used in some circumstances. Specifically though for chauffeurs, I guess they could take on, if possible, like the black cab approach. So obviously if they're picking up VIPs or key speakers that they need to escort to a venue for an event, trying to maybe have that sort of glass partition where possible, so they're not coming into contact. Again, having hand sanitizers in the vehicle if necessary, and then having somebody meet and greet them the other end and just making sure they're keeping their distance. I do think just the world of events is going to change moving forward in terms of even like food and catering. You mostly have sort of open buffets, everyone can chip in when they turn up to an event, pick the croissants, pick the muffins, but maybe that's going to change. Maybe we need to have individually packaged food for people, so there's like no cross-contamination, those sorts of things, and even formatting of events. So I know a lot of sort of seminars and stuff are theatre style, but maybe we take that more cabaret approach, so everyone has a bit more space around the table when they're sitting and listening to the sessions. Even breakouts, I know we can break out into quite big breakout groups depending on the size of the event, but maybe we keep them more intimate moving forward, so there's more space for people to spread out in the specific room rather than all sort of huddled around a table and sort of breathing over each other. Just making sure we have that personal space when we need it. Hopefully that's answered some of the questions. I don't know if anyone else has any other views on that one.
I've seen some, not very many, and this is something that I think more hotels and event venues need to start doing. There was a very, very cool, very small 2-minute video created by a sales person from the NH Collection group of hotels in Amsterdam. And she basically started the video saying, welcome, we can't wait to welcome you back. Just going to give you a small shot of the event spaces that we have ready and waiting for you once meetings are available to be had again. And what she did was she picked, obviously, 5 to 6 different spaces, but they were already set up how they should be with social distancing setups. So you got a real visual on what could look like. And because I think that's a lot of the questions, you know, how are these meeting spaces going to look like? Do you plan to put the chairs, you know, and it gave people a real insight and vision into those particular spaces, which is going to obviously influence your decision to use those properties or not. So I think more hotels need to be doing that because people need visible, evidence or proof of what is happening, what are the changes, what are people going to be doing. So that's what hotels and venues really need to start doing.
Yeah, I think just to add on that as well, because those are great shouts as well. I think what venues and hotels need to be looking at, and they should start looking at that now, is connectivity within the venues. So Wi-Fi, the ability to live stream, how strong is their Wi-Fi, how good is it, how much are they charging for it as well, on that kind of basis. Because you know, Julius from Event Managers Blog made a very good point on Twitter today, and a lot of people are asking this question again.
Yes.
Will digital platforms take over live? No, they won't. We talked about this 10 years ago and we all agreed it then. We've been talking about this for years. Digital will never take over live. Digital will only ever be an enhancement of what we could be doing in a live setting.
Yeah.
So I think what we need to start looking at now, and what we'll start to see a lot more moving out of this period, is hybrid events.
100%.
Like taking it back, and taking it back to what I was saying at the start. You know, this is a year and a decade when we're going to be looking at people and planet. So we also need to be thinking about the sustainability of our events. You know, how many people have we got traveling to one venue when you could be putting hybrid elements in there, reaching wider audiences, but have a live event in a particular regional location and then hybrid to reach people internationally and across the country without people having to take a long journeys, stressful journeys sometimes, trying to find a venue, especially in London. And as well, that ties into mental health and well-being of your delegates as well. You're stressing them out to get to them. You're stressed when they arrive. You cram them with loads of content all day, so the brains are wired by the time they leave. You're probably not feeding them very healthily either. So I think all of this, all this redesigning how we feed people, redesigning how we do the menu planning, how we do our session planning, and how long those sessions are, and how much of a break we give people in between sessions, and how long we're expecting people to travel to get to a half-day event in London, for example. You know, it's gonna push all of us to really be looking very closely about how we're designing our events.
And having that safe capacity as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Rather than maximum capacity.
I think it's an interesting point. I think it's an interesting point that Sabrina mentioned as well about the video that the hotel did. I think it's going to be really key as to how hotels and venues are giving out their clients this information, because even when we are allowed to go back and people are allowed to technically book meetings. I mean, I was talking to an industry colleague of mine who's a venue finder, and she's been talking to her clients, the direct event bookers, and they've been saying, to be honest, I don't really want to go for an appointment. I don't want to go for a show round. I don't feel comfortable at this point. You know, even if the hotel's open in July, we shouldn't really be opening saying, guys, we're open, come and see us, come for a cup of tea and cake. We should be saying, we're open, we're here for you when you feel comfortable. So I think all of this information is really good, but perhaps hotels should also be mindful about how they portray it and how they put it across.
But virtual software for venues as well has been around for the last decade. So virtual software, as well, expecting a client to travel for miles to do a fam trip or a show round of the venue, which I did proactive sales for venues and hotels for a long time, and you are pushed to get your customers to come into the venue and the hotel to come and have a look. That's what you're pushed for, and that's what you're targeted on. And we need to really change our way of thinking around that as well, because, you know, our dad, Ellie can say this, how much time do you have as a corporate in-house to be going out and looking at hotels and venues unless you've got an event in mind? You haven't got time to do it.
No, you haven't.
The virtual software has been there for donkey's years, guys, for people to be showing off their venues without having to physically drag a buyer into that hotel or venue. So we need to change the way that we're planning our sales and marketing and that funnel and client attainment and all of that kind of stuff. We really need to have a really good, long, hard think about how we do this.
We've got some good comments coming in, though.
We do.
The virtual software, like you say, has been around.
It's been around for donkeys. So we've got, so Robert Kenwood has been saying that clients will spend less on the live and overall, but more to the virtual offline production element. And Claudia has said that a lot of venues could perhaps have a COVID capacity chart to show max people per room with social distance and chair plans, for example. That could be something they come up with.
I think you'll see that. I think you'll see that they'll start doing that. It'll become a norm.
And sort of more stricter health and safety risk assessments, and hygiene being a key factor on that probably has never been overlooked, but it's going to be even more important now than ever.
Do you think event organisers and marketers are going to have to really work harder to get way more information about their delegates and their intentions for visiting this event than ever before? Before, you could just buy a ticket online, name, email address, whereas now I think if you can split your event up to be smaller satellite events, more bespoke, pre-arranging one-on-one meetings rather than having 400 people just huddling in a room together and you're not quite sure who you're meeting, to kind of keep the event smaller, a lot more contained, but really very, very relevant. You ensure that everyone's kind of meeting the right.
Have those like qualifying questions, I guess.
Yes. That's what I mean.
As on the registration page before they register.
Yeah,
absolutely. And this is like the beauty of virtual events, or having this hybrid approach, because the data and the analytics that you can get from that pre, during and post event is where the gold is. So being able to segment the list down, being able to personalize your marketing, your services, your offerings before, during and after events. And I think this is why I saw that tweet, Helen, from Julius, and I rolled my eyes because I thought, we've been in lockdown for so long, we should be over this question right now. Like you just have to embrace where we're at right now. And there is so much goodness and gold in embracing hybrid and using virtual in terms of the data, and then moving on from there. And I think everyone's there, even attendees are going to accept this is the way things are going to be going forward.
But I think generally as an industry as well, sorry Lil, as an industry as well, we need to get better at adopting technologies, because there are other industries that are way ahead of us, even in terms of that pre. So that finding out about your audience and making it more personalized and more specific to them. There are industries out there who are way ahead of us on all of this, and are doing it way so much better. So we this is our opportunity to really stop being frightened of change. And start, the industry has changed so much over the years, but we really need to stop fearing things like this question about digital and live. We've been talking about it for 10 years. It's like the commission debate as well. We've been talking about that for 20 years. It's, come on, guys, some things are for the good. Get on board.
Another thing that I
people saying, is social media important? Yes.
It's been around for 15 years now, social media, guys. Come on.
Like, it's not relevant question anymore. Duh. Stop asking. Start using and developing. So at the end of the day, that's always be my answer.
Absolutely. And do you know what, guys? I mean, this has been really fantastic. I hope everyone watching has found it useful, because this is the beauty of having like 6 different disciplines at the table, and really having kind of, I'd say, more engaged and layered conversation. So we're coming to the end of our stream this evening. Now, if you have asked the question and we haven't answered it, we will answer in the chat function after we finish streaming, and we all are going to probably think about some weekly content to kind of keep in touch with you guys, because a month is like a long time now thinking about it. And tonight's been absolutely fantastic. Now, there was a question, a really early question, about who to follow on LinkedIn for great updates. Come and find us all on LinkedIn, right? So that's your challenge. If you're not really using social media already, come and find us on LinkedIn and connect with us, because everyone here has some great resources that they're sharing right now, a fantastic network. So you'll be able to find updates on what's happening in and out of the industry by connecting with us on LinkedIn.
Definitely.
As well. So I want to thank everyone for coming. You will be able to get updates. So we will all post on LinkedIn about the next stream, and also on this Facebook page that you're watching on as well. You'll be able to find out when the next stream is and what topics we'll be discussing. And we will be uploading the recording of this video onto the Agenda YouTube channel. So stay tuned. All the links will go into the chat function of the chat. So from us, we're all going to say goodbye now.